Hello and welcome to this week's Hippie Hyena. This week, we're going to go and visit our old friend, Rubin, who was originally nominally a kind of left-wingery type person, but has discovered the grift. And it's hard to tell to what extent he really believes what he's saying, or he just has realised it's a good grift, and he can make a lot of money out of it, or at least he can try to do so. I mean, somebody is funding his huge set, and I think the Majority Report looked into it, and I think he's suckling on that Koch brothers' teat. But anyway, regardless of how astroturfed and fakey Dave Rubin is, we're going to take him at his own word and act as though he really does believe what he says he believes, for the purposes of today's Hippie Hyena. So, as a ardent Trump supporter, probably going through quite a difficult time, or at least he knows that his followers probably are. So let's go and see what Dave, brain reeling from high-level ideas, Rubin, is making of today's current events.
What up, people? It is Tuesday, November 17th in the year 2020. 2 weeks ago today was Election Day, the very election that is still not certified, and we don't know what the hell's going on.
We do know what's going on. It's been called. Biden won. Trump lost. The fat lady sang. It's done.
Just think back to what your life was like 2 weeks ago today. You woke up that morning, you thought, oh, it's all going to end tonight. Maybe my guy wins, maybe my guy loses. But realistically, we have a solution. We'll have an outcome to this thing, and we can all move on with our lives. We can be locked down again, live in our basement forever.
Yeah, if you have the mentality of a child, you might have thought that. But realistically, everyone who was paying attention would know absolutely immediately, and without shadow of a doubt, it was going to go on for a little while because, of course, a lot of people voted by postal votes. So why is Dave Rubin saying this to his audience? Well, there's kind of three possibilities as I see it. One, he's an idiot and genuinely did think that the results would just be out straight away. Or two, he's falling in line with the whole BS propaganda that Trump was putting out before the election happened, trying to get it called early to avoid the postal votes because they knew that the postal votes would be overwhelmingly Democrat voters, which they in fact were and continue to be so. Or three, both of these things. He's both an idiot and going for the propaganda, and I'm erring on three.
And that would be that. Instead, everything's chaotic and psychotic. And here we are. It's 2 weeks later. We got about 6-7 states that aren't certified. And there's a lot of wackiness going on. So we're going to cover a bunch of stuff today because, as I've been saying to you guys for the last couple of days, the Trump people, the rubber meets the road. You got to actually show the evidence. You can't just say, oh, we've got some affidavits, we've got some rumors about Dominion software and a bunch of that kind of stuff. You got to actually show us something. And it sounds like they are actually getting close to showing something.
No, it doesn't. Most of the court cases are being chucked out as being totally baseless. The lawyers themselves and Trump's press secretary have admitted they've got no evidence whatsoever. It's a farce, it's a joke, it's a parody, it's living satire, it's a clown show.
Trump lawyer Sidney Powell's been on TV a lot, and she is making it sound like she's got some major stuff. Maybe she doesn't, maybe she does.
She doesn't.
But that is what it sounds like. And Rudy Giuliani has been doing the same, and he's sort of heading up on the election side.
Rudy Giuliani is mad as a box of frogs. You're totally off his rocker. If he wasn't dressed up in a suit and being nominally Trump's chief lawyer, he'd be standing on the corner of a street yelling at cars and claiming he's Jesus. The guy's nuts. If he's the best he can do, you're really, really in trouble. That's what is, in a way, so delightful as an observer about the Trump presidency, is that usually these absolute head cases would just be laughed out of the building, you know. Nobody would take them seriously, and really nobody sensible should or does. Even so, but given that one of them is president, it kind of means that people have to take some of these nut jobs seriously, and that is just pure comedy. When you're watching these kind of neoconservative or neoliberal kind of relatively centristy journalists slash news hosts having to interview these people as if they're genuine people, when in fact they're just straight Muppet characters created by Jim Henson out of old leather and Cheeto dust, doused in whiskey and puppeteered by three arguing schizophrenics. It's really an absolute delight in unintentional comedy.
For Trump right now, so we're going to go into that. Giuliani was on Maria Bartiromo on Fox Business and had some interesting hints.
Interesting is one way of putting it. garbled, idiotic nonsense is another. But it's great that he said, they really need to start presenting facts at the beginning. And then he's saying it looks like they're doing so because here is two people offering no facts whatsoever. And at best, hints or innuendo or baseless nonsense is another way to put that.
And this is a guy who did fight the mafia.
And it's also a guy who fought imaginary windmill goblins, and he kind of lost that one.
So we're gonna talk about that. Obviously, the update. Then more lockdowns, people. Sure, the virus, more than 99% of people survive, and sure, they keep telling us that we've got to do these things, and then these things either work or don't work. But then they just use those excuses for more and more lockdowns.
What an absolutely smooth-brained, irresponsible take. We keep trying different things because we're trying to figure out what works because we're basically in a war against a virus, And so far, lockdowns seem to be the thing that works the best out of all the things we've thought of and tried. Well, that and track and trace, but track and trace requires putting some money into it, which right-wing governments tend not to want to do. So yeah, if you're not going to want to put some money into it and do, the baseline kind of dealing with this situation, you're going to have more lockdowns, or you're going to have a lot of people die, because even 1% of the population is a really, really large number of people, because there's a lot of people. And effectively, what Dave Rubin and the people he's speaking for here are saying to us and the world is that they would rather not have a minor inconvenience for a short period and have thousands and thousands of people die than to just be minorly inconvenienced and save loads of lives.
And then finally, the Great Reset. Have you heard about this thing? This is sort of like the globalist plan to change everything. It's sort of been lurking in the background. And if you had been talking about it a year ago, people would have said you're Alex Jones.
Oh, you're all Alex Jones now, my friend. Because what was once was wildly speculative, conspiratorial nonsense is now mainstream conservative dogma. Because people like you realised that if your audience are idiots, you don't need to have any evidence for what it is you're peddling. Not that they ever did, but now they don't even have a pretense for it. And here is Dave Rubin, apparently mainstream broadcaster, at least online, peddling completely crazy, probably anti-Semitic conspiracy theories, as if they're just take it as a given it's true.
Election time, here we go. Let's see, everything under control? What's up? Whoop, what happened? What's going on?
What's your editor doing there, Dave? Why hasn't this been cut out? Bizarre.
Everything under control? Not sure what you're saying. Gotcha. Sorry.
I think that was Dave's brain just became overwhelmed with all these high-level ideas for a moment there and had to take a moment to get rebooted.
So Rudy Giuliani was on Maria Bartiromo yesterday on Fox News Business. And, as I mentioned to you a moment ago, we can talk about voting irregularities. You can talk about the observers that couldn't get close enough. You can talk about the Dominion voting systems and all of these things.
All these baseless accusations that have been widely debunked everywhere.
And we can talk about it, and we can all look back to election again 2 weeks ago today, when, Trump was in states and they all stopped counting at once. So all of these red flags are up.
They're not red flags. They're literally nothing. Nothing. A big nothing burger.
Let's throw to this clip. This is Giuliani on Maria Bartiromo on Fox Business, and then we'll do a little unpacking for you.
Do you need to have that hardware in your possession to prove it? Can you prove the case without the hardware?
We have people that I can't really disclose that can describe the hardware in great detail. We have former government employees, our government employees, and others that were there at the creation. They can describe it, they can draw it, they can show it. And then we have proof that I can't disclose yet. But I'm confident, that...
Yeah.
That,
go ahead.
And this has to be examined, Maria, beyond this election. We'll get overturned. But beyond this election, this whole thing has to be investigated as a national security matter. And the governors who gave contracts to this company never bothered to do any due diligence. I mean, I can't imagine you would give a contract to a company if you went one step out. It's really being run by people that are close to Maduro and Chavez. I can't imagine you would do that unless you're out of your mind.
Well, coming from Rudy Giuliani, the accusation that someone's out of their mind is, well, it's completely meaningless. In fact, if someone was certified completely in the right state of mind by Rudy Giuliani, I'd consider that to be a sign that something's deeply wrong with them mentally.
So, because they want to certify the state elections early December, do you believe you will be able to prosecute and be heard within this time frame?
Of course. And I can't imagine how a state legislature can certify based upon ballots where we had no opportunity to inspect, and it was done deliberately.
So yeah, just to reiterate, they've got nothing. There is no evidence. It's all baseless nonsense. It's conspiracy theory. It's stuff that makes Alex Jones look like a sort of well-reasoned, average human being, and not in any way a living anger potato. So why are they peddling it? Why are they trying to pretend that there is even any avenue for Trump to win this election when it's already over and he lost it? Well, for a number of reasons. I think probably at this stage, chiefly among those is the fact that Trump is fundraising for this. Sort of. He's saying he's fundraising for this, but what he's really doing is asking for donations from his followers in order to raise the war chest, but actually what he's doing is just using it to pay back his debts and probably his legal fees for once he gets kicked out of the White House. He's going to be facing a number of charges. Chiefly amongst those is at least a couple of incidences of alleged rape, which he's withheld his DNA from, but he could do that because he was president, but once he isn't, he's going to be in a lot of hot water, and since his tax returns were released and we all know that he's basically broke, he could really do with that money.